two peas in a pod.
Coming up, much more on the Trump administration with my next guest. He is the mayor of New York City. The one and only Eric Adams joins me right here in studio, face to face with your boy, Stephen A. Trust me when I say, you don't want to miss this.
No. Trust me when I say, we don't care. But for the sole purpose of content, I will oblige.
An honor and a privilege,
Thank
sir.
you.
How you doing? How's everything going? It's good to see you.
South Side, we outside.
That's right.
That's right. Hollis, Queen.
That's
I was just telling you, we used to come out to Hollis and take y'all shorties.
Well, you know,
Buddy, you're an elected official on a public platform while under indictment for bribery, conspiracy, and campaign finance violations. And the first words out of your mouth are related to how you picked up women back in the neighborhood. I'm pretty sure there's a term for that. I think it's, wasn't it something like bozo? And that's putting it lightly. If we didn't know anything else about Eric Adams but that, it tells you all you need to know. But I digress.
When you stop talking about working class issues and people are hurting and you having this intellectual conversation and have a philosophical approach.
Saying intellectual and philosophical doesn't quite make the conversation intellectual or philosophical. Just a thought.
I have never left the streets.
Except for the times you took $100 grand worth of free travel to Turkey. But who could remember that?
They didn't highlight a person of color as mayor, lifting up this city. There was a success story that should have been the talking point for the Democratic Party.
Man, if you don't sit your self-centered self
the fuck down!
That's like praising the person who prepares your taxes for properly preparing your taxes. Nobody has to pat you on the back for doing the job you're paid to do. It's your job requirement to create the prosperity you campaigned on for the citizens of your city. There is no cookie at the end of your accomplishments. It's nobody's requirement to specifically highlight any of your supposed successes. If anything, it's an added bonus when they do, because believe it or not, sometimes those successes actually happen in spite of you as opposed to because of you. But the fact that you appear to be performing more for self-recognition than for the morale and the betterment of your constituency is symbolic of the proof you ain't nothing but a con in a suit. And not for nothing, thank God that for once, the party is not highlighting the black mayor indicted on criminal charges.
The sequel's never quite as good.
This goddamn bitch set me up like this. Set me up, ain't that a bitch?
You reportedly went to visit President Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago prior to the inauguration. What can you tell us about that? And is it really about what people are saying it's about? You're hoping that in the event something goes down and you find yourself being convicted of these allegations, that he's going to pardon you.
And think about that for a moment. This is the President of the United States. I'm the mayor of the largest city in America that lost $6.5 billion due to the previous administration's inability to finance the migrant crisis. Why are people asking, is the mayor of the largest city in America going down to meet with the president to talk about how do we recoup some of those losses and how do we ensure that we move our city forward?
Now you know daggone well, you flew down there to secure yourself a pardon. You ain't sit at no table for no dinner with no Trump. Man, they only shuffled you out as their top dancing entertainment over dessert. And immediately after you finished your little song and dance, they told you to tap dance your way back to JFK.
And when I saw Biden's speech on why he impeached his family members, he talked about it. Many people didn't read that.
Correction, nobody read that because it didn't happen. One, if this moron doesn't understand the difference between an impeachment and a pardon, prayers for New York City. And two, this entire interview continued without a correction for the record from Stephen A. Smith, which goes to show you can use big words on TV and still be a dummy.
In light of that, along with campaign finance charges, that's what they're throwing at you as well.
For the record, nobody is throwing anything at him. According to a grand jury, he is alleged to have committed multiple crimes, and he is now in the process of facing the consequences for said crimes. That's called the justice system.
Ignorant motherfucker.
Are you going to fight like hell to make sure you win the case, or that you are proven to be innocent? Because there's a difference with the voters.
Right. I think The pathway to justice come in many different ways.
But the only path he plans to take will lead directly through Trump's anal cavity.
He loves it.
Change the subject now.
Are you still supportive of the city of New York being considered a sanctuary city?
And so that's so important. These are good questions, brother. People conflate what sanctuary city is.
Please explain.
A sanctuary city is saying that if you are in New York and you are paying your taxes, then those tax dollars provide your services, your police services, your hospital service, your education services. And so right here, if you in New York, we're not going to deny you those services because you buy a loaf of bread, you're paying taxes. You buy gas, you're paying taxes. So with those tax dollars, you're paying for the goods and services of the city. That's what the sanctuary city means.
Factually incorrect. Nowhere in the definition of sanctuary city does any reference to taxes appear. Probably because migrants automatically pay taxes. It's called a sales tax whenever they make purchases, just like the rest of us. And spoiler alert, Eric never answered the original question of whether or not he still supports New York City being a sanctuary city. But what he does do is blame President Biden for the migrants in New York who were bused to New York from Texas by the Republican governor of Texas.
Funny how that go, huh?
Make of it what you will.
After the election, it should be about building up our communities and our cities and our country. You know, when people say, well, why are you sitting down with Donald Trump? Dr. King wanted to sit down with Nixon.
Hey,
Watch your mouth.
first off, you're no Dr. King, buddy.
Virtually no resemblance.
Second of all, it was Vice President Nixon who invited Dr. King to the meeting in Washington, not the other way around. And come to think of it, he wasn't an indicted alleged fraudster looking to curry favor with a fascist sexually assaulting wannabe mobster.
It's just like bad optics, as they say.
And the Democratic Party, to me, is still chirping as if it's the campaign trail, not recognizing that this man is in office and you're going to have to deal with him. How could we expect anybody to deal with Donald Trump if, as a Democrat, folks are still out there spewing the same old rhetoric?
Well, at this point, what does he suggest they say? Hail Trump with a Nazi salute?
I think not.
Stephen A. would definitely be that house Negro, discouraging the other slaves from making a run for it. All because Joe's gonna make too much trouble for Massa.
Pathetic.
What about people who say, Mr. Mayor, you're engaging in an exercise in futility because look at this man. He doesn't really care. This is what I'm just saying. It's not me talking about. Their attitude is, he doesn't really care. Look at him. He immediately got rid of, trying to get rid of DEI programs. Look at him. Look at who he surrounded himself with. These black folks, these minorities that have supported him. How many does he actually have in his cabinet? Look at him. It's Elon Musk for X. It's Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook and Meta and all of this other stuff. It's TikTok now. So he's insulated himself with media arms or information disseminating arms that can insulate him from the level of scrutiny. Mr. Mayor, aren't you just wasting your time even trying to communicate with this man? What do you say to that?
First of all, I'm an Elon Musk guy.
All right. Stop the press. Hold your horses.
We've heard enough.
I can't say he lost me and I'm an Elon guy because he never had me. But what he showed me with being an Elon guy is he's willing to blow wherever the wind goes and whoever to stay afloat.
Balls and all.
Now, while Stephen A. Smith did criticize the termination of DEI in a rare, once in a blue moon critique of the right prior to the interview, albeit with a much friendlier tone than any of his criticisms of Biden and the Democratic Party, to no surprise of mine, when DEI was brought up in the interview, Eric Adams made sure to pussyfoot around the issue.
When I think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that has nothing to do with what we just talking about.
Right.
But getting back to DEI, I would like you to define the definition of DEI, what it should mean. When you hear DEI, what should that mean to the average American citizen and the employers out here?
Yeah, we cannot ignore the fact that there are many people who were passed over based on their ethnicity and based on their gender and based on their lives. Many of you, I would talk to some of my Muslim brothers and sisters and they were denied jobs because they had a job. I would talk to some of my Jewish brothers and sisters and there were law firms and other jobs they could not have. And African Americans, I could think about my sister, my older sister, how many jobs she would train someone who was junior to her and constantly watch them passed over. So we know there were some historical problems. Now the goal is, how do you give opportunities to people regardless of their ethnicity, their gender, their lifestyle.
Hey, I've actually got a great idea of how we can do that. Through DEI, idiot.
He's not the brightest bulb, I'll give you that.
Instead of answering the question of what DEI should mean, all he did was try to straddle the fence of not trying to define it as a positive or negative framework. Just to end with,
how do you give opportunities to people, regardless of their ethnicity, their gender, their lifestyle?
maybe, just maybe, he's a coward who doesn't want to upset Master Trump before the ink is dry on his potential pardon papers.
But hey, what do I know?
The mayor of New York himself, the one and only Eric Adams. I hope y'all enjoyed that conversation. I know I did. And if you listened, no doubt you learned a few things.
Well, with all the double talk, there wasn't much to learn from two black community castaways, Uncle Tom house Negroes, playing pity pat while showering each other with flattery. No hardball questions and no fact checking. Just the stroking of each other's egos. Both claiming to be the voice of reason from the middle, when in actuality, you guys are Bert and Ernie. Two high-priced puppets. So regardless of what you say and how you choose to say it, we know it's coming from your puppet master. They only use you to relay it.
Little Black Sambo.
Hey, if you made it this far, thanks again for watching. Please do not forget to comment, like, subscribe, follow, all the above. Whatever you do, thank you for doing it. Peace.